We're
this one's good.
replicating a psychological experiment about perceptions of discomfort. This is a bucket of cold water.
Yep.
You're going to put your hand in, and you're going to keep it in there for a duration that we won't tell you. As it's in the water, you can rate your discomfort on this scale. If basically you're at the point where like, I am in agony, let me take my hand out of here, you can dial it up to that.
Oh my god. Yep. Can't feel my fingers.
Stinging.
Bit achy.
Arctic. Painful.
Numb.
Numb. More pain.
Pain maybe.
Pain.
Can't hold it.
And obviously you've got 2 hands. We'll be doing this 3 times. I'm replicating an experiment originally conducted by Daniel Kahneman and Barbara Fredrickson in 1993. Just as in the original study, I've told participants we're investigating the difference in pain perception between dominant and non-dominant hands. I'm assuming you're right-handed?
Yeah, I'm right-handed.
Okay. But that is not the true purpose of the experiment.
Left hand in.
You go ahead.
Oh, it's cold.
And we've started. Yeah, all the way to the wrist. That's good. What's the physical sensation like?
Cold. Freezing.
Yeah, there's like a point where it almost feels like a muscle cramp.
Both numbing and tingling?
It is getting colder and colder, yes.
Half of the participants were randomly assigned to use their left hand first. The other half used their right hand first. They indicated in real time how much discomfort they were experiencing.
It's getting like progressively worse.
It feels cold. I wouldn't want to stay there for very long.
Good. Are you from Russia or something?
Yes.
So you're used to the cold.
I used to cold too.
At the end of the trial, I told them to pull their hand out and give an overall rating for the experience.
About a 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to swim in that.
No.
3, 7, 6.
Then they took a 15-minute break before returning to submerge their other hand.
Yeah, I can't hold it. Yeah.
But that's real cold, huh?
Yeah. I could probably go another minute, I reckon.
What about an hour?
No.
It's like stinging this time.
It started to feel like I can't feel my hand now, something like that.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a bad thing, of course.
How did that feel?
Felt a lot worse than my right hand.
What participants didn't know is that the 2 trials were different. They started out the same, one hand submerged in 14 degrees Celsius water for 60 seconds, and one of the trials ended there. But the other trial lasted an additional 30 seconds. During that time, the water temperature increased slightly to 15 degrees Celsius.
Have I put it in here for longer compared to last time? Feels like it's been a while.
This increase in temperature reduced discomfort.
It seems to make the water slightly warmer. It's slightly less uncomfortable.
But it was still uncomfortable. This is not the sort of thing you'd want to do for hours.
No, I would like genuinely be dead right now.
Again, we randomized whether the long trial was first or second, and whether it was with the left hand or the right hand.
Okay, I'm trying to see where this is going.
The question was, if I were to ask you to repeat one of those 2 experiences, which would you choose?
Probably the left hand, yes. Yes.
You'd do that first one again?
Yeah, I think so.
I would say the second one with the right hand.
The first. The right hand. I'll go with the first.
The first one?
Yeah.
In our small-scale replication...
Dude, there's so many reasons why that could be the case. There's so many. Guys, I understand he has a pretty big sample, right? So maybe like left hand dominant, whatever. You could probably fucking think about it. But like, isn't there just a lot of reasons why that could be the case?
7 out of 12
The
people
reason
said
that
they
14 Celsius is cold
trial.
is because it's
In the
water.
Kahneman and
It's
Fredrickson
very
study,
different in
this
the air
preference
versus
was
the
even
water.
stronger, with
Water
almost
conducts
70%
way
of
better.
their participants preferring the longer
It's
trial.
way faster
That
in
is
water,
the
so
same
your
trial
body
that they,
temperature
in real time,
drops
indicated
very
was
fast.
painful for a longer time. Both trials contained the same 60 seconds at 14 degrees Celsius. The longer trial just added an additional 30 seconds with the water warming by just 1 degree. This was still uncomfortable, and it was 50% longer. And yet, it's the trial most people preferred. One of the participants in the original study, after reporting that he would prefer to repeat the longer trial, muttered, "The choice I made doesn't seem to make much sense." So the first trial was 30 seconds longer.
Yeah, okay.
You endured discomfort for longer.
Yeah.
But at the end, the discomfort reduced a little bit.
And the extra bit is not fun. It's not like the extra bit was like, oh, this is great, I want to do this. If I asked you which trial you'd want to do again,
Probably the first one.
you'd tell me the first one.
Yeah.
And that's the one that's actually a longer experience of discomfort.
Yeah.
As hard as it is to understand, under certain circumstances apparently, people prefer more pain to less. But why is this? Well, to investigate, Fredrickson and Kahneman ran a follow-up study where they showed short and long versions of pleasant and unpleasant videos to undergraduate students. Examples of pleasant videos included a puppy playing with a flower and waves breaking on a beach, while the unpleasant videos included the aftermath of Hiroshima and a medical film of an amputation.
Well, that's interesting, though.
After the video, students were asked to rate their experience. What they found was the length of the video had very little effect on the retrospective evaluation, positive or negative. Kahneman and colleagues suggest this is due, at least in part, to the two different ways we experience the world. In the moment, as the experiencing self, or retrospectively, thinking back.
Yo, boredom is painful as fuck. Because I feel like looking at something that I don't find entertaining or interesting feels like something that a lot of time. Boredom is in a way actually painful.
Back on events as the remembering self. If you're going through something unpleasant and someone offers you the chance to stop, you, the experiencing self, will likely take them up on the offer. But for the remembering self, the duration of an experience seems to have much less importance. This is known as duration neglect. A 2008 study found that the length of a vacation did not have any impact on how positively the vacation was remembered. So, if the duration of an experience doesn't affect your memory of it, what does? The answer appears to be key moments, particularly ones that elicit the strongest emotional response. As the novelist Milan Kundera wrote, memory doesn't make films, it makes photographs. And those photographs usually capture the most intense, salient moments of the experience. The most joyful, funny, painful, scary moments in life are the ones that are remembered, and therefore they come to represent the experience as a whole. This is a version of the representativeness heuristic, a term coined by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky in the 1970s. They were studying how people think about probabilities. Consider a family with 6 children. Is it more likely that they were born in the order boy, 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 girl, 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 or girl, boy, boy, girl, boy, girl? For the majority of participants, the first order was viewed as significantly less likely. But in reality, both orders are equally likely, but boy, 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 girl, girl, girl feels less likely because it seems less random. I mean, people have a mental model of randomness, and boy, 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 girl, girl, girl does not fit this model. We rely on representativeness all the time as a mental shortcut, but sometimes it can lead us astray. One famous example developed by Kahneman and Tversky is known as the Linda problem. Linda is 31 years old, single, outspoken, and very bright. She majored in philosophy. As a student, she was deeply concerned with issues of discrimination and social justice, and she also participated in anti-nuclear demonstrations. So, which is more probable? Linda is a bank teller, or Linda is a bank teller and is active in the feminist movement?
Second.
The majority of people who are asked this question give the second answer, which makes sense because the description of Linda matches our mental model of a feminist. But mathematically, it must be more likely that she's a bank teller, because feminist bank teller is just a subset of bank teller. All feminist bank tellers are, by definition, bank tellers.
Okay.
Stephen Jay Gould
said,
but I know that
with the description, the likelihood that she's a feminist is way higher than that she's a bank teller. Right? Because philosophers don't become bank tellers, but they do become feminists. So
is least probable. Yet a little homunculus in my head continues to jump up and down shouting at me, but she can't just be a bank teller. Read the description. The thing about the representativeness heuristic...
Okay, that makes sense, but what he's saying is that you could put a bunch of subsets, like that could have been anti-war, or like she could have been advocates for like vegans or whatever, and then you put that, and of course it's going to be less because that subset combo is just more rare than the other combination.
Like many heuristics, is that we fall for it even if we are aware that we're falling for it. I mean, technically, eggplants, cucumbers, and avocados are all
It's about
berries.
probabilities, yeah.
But because they aren't small and sweet like strawberries or blueberries, we don't think of them as berries. An eggplant does not match my preconceived idea of a berry, so even though I know it's technically a berry, I'm gonna keep calling it a vegetable. I mean, the salient feature of an eggplant is that I cook it like I would a vegetable.
Also, annoyingly enough, a strawberry is not technically a berry. Botany is confusing. So the representativeness heuristic is why we think that Linda is more likely to be a feminist bank teller rather than just a bank teller. And why?
Because of the correlation between
Yeah.
whatever she was like a...
Because the way she was described made it likely for her to be a feminist, but it said basically nothing about her potentially being a bank teller. That's why.
An activist, usually we mix...
It's not because she's likely to be a bank teller, it's because she's likely to be a feminist. The bank teller part is just the only option that has her being a feminist.
Activists with people that care about... And she was a social warrior.
I can't bring myself to call an eggplant a berry. And representativeness is how the peak moments in our past come to represent entire experiences.
But it's not the only thing that colors our perception of the past. Our brains better recall and therefore assign a greater importance to more recent events. This is known as recency bias. So if you were to list all the meals you had in the last week, it would be easier to recall the most recent ones. That's why how an experience ends plays an outsized role in how it's remembered. I mean, how many people are rewatching Game of Thrones right now, for example, compared to, say, Breaking Bad? I mean, the last season of Game of Thrones was so awful, I don't think I'll ever watch any of it ever again. The end tainted my view of the whole thing.
And it seems like that also applies when judging the quality of a life. In a 2001 study, researchers told a fictional story about Jen, a never-married woman without children. She's extremely happy, she has a job she enjoys, many close friends, goes on vacations, and has many fulfilling hobbies. Then, she is hit by a car at the age of 30 and dies painlessly and instantly. Taking her life as a whole, how desirable do you think Jen's life was? For the other half of participants, researchers told the same story about Jen, but added another 5 years to her life. Years that were pleasant, but maybe not quite as good as the first 30. Then they asked the same question. Taking her life as a whole, how desirable do you think Jen's life was? And what they found was that people judged Jen's longer life to be less desirable. That living for those extra 5 good but not great years actually reduced the overall perceived quality of her life. The ending matters. They repeated this same story with a Jen that lives to age 60 compared to age 65, and the results were the same.
Adding mildly pleasant years to a very positive life does not enhance it, but actually decreases the perception of the quality of this life.
So when it comes to holding your hand in a bucket of cold water, your overall experience of the event boils down to 2 things, the peak and the end.
Oh yeah. Like, I find that painful. I can't believe people have been like standing in front of us acting so tough.
Both trials involved holding a hand in 14-degree water for the same duration, so presumably they created the same peak of discomfort. But the longer trial had a nicer ending.
Discomfort is backing off. I mean, still uncomfortable, but like not quite as uncomfortable.
By adding a slightly less uncomfortable 30 seconds, Kahneman and Fredrickson were able to trick participants into remembering the experience more fondly. This is clearly a bad choice for the experiencing self, but a good choice for the remembering self.
This might seem like an insignificant party trick, but it actually has huge implications for our lives.
For example, if we remember a medical procedure like a visit to the dentist or a checkup more favorably, we're more likely to do it again, and that improves long-term health outcomes. At the end of their 1993 paper,
Oh, that's why you
Kahneman
get a
Fredrickson
toy at
asked,
the end.
Yeah.
"The physician
That's why they give the children the candy at the end. To manipulate them into liking it.
be allowed to add
Alright,
an
yeah,
interval
nice
of diminishing pain to the end
strategy.
of a medical procedure
Dude,
if the sole benefit of the
Everybody always get mad when you manipulate the children, but the doctors and the dentists, they do it on purpose to scam them and make even more money of them. Fucking scammers.
added pain
Fucking
is to
scammers.
cause the
It's all a
patients to
scam.
retain a more
Dude,
favorable
medicine is
memory of
all a
it.
scam.
In 2003, Kahneman did exactly that. Along with colleagues, he conducted a trial with 682 patients who underwent a colonoscopy. Half of them went through.
That's
why I
the
like when
worst
they
thing you
end
could have ever
with the-
brought in
The
from chat.
foam. They put like the fucking
This colon,
like
colon.
bubble gum flavored foam or whatever on your
I
mouth,
saw
and they take it out and it doesn't hurt. And they say don't eat food or whatever.
A normal
it's kind of
routine
nice.
procedure. The other half had an extra 3 minutes at the end of the procedure.
I don't spit it
where
all
the
out, I
tip
swallow
of
a little
the
bit.
colonoscope was left in, but not moved. So it was uncomfortable, but less painful than the rest of the procedure.
The patients who experienced the extra 3 minutes of discomfort at the end rated the whole experience as about 10% less unpleasant. They were also more likely to come back to do a follow-up screening procedure.
The peak end rule also appears in design for customer experiences. The cheap hot dogs at the exit of IKEA are an example. The positive experience of a cheap, tasty hot dog or ice cream cone leads to a better memory of the whole shopping experience. It's like a doctor giving a lollipop to a child after a checkup. Knowing that this is how the brain creates memories allows us to create better memories for ourselves.
On
If you want to
purpose?
run more, don't do painful hill sprints at the end of your workout. Instead, maybe do a pleasant cool-down walk while you talk to a friend or listen to your favorite music. Want to create better memories of your vacations? Making it longer won't matter as much as creating exciting and novel days. Make sure there's a high peak experience and also end it with something pleasant. Are you quitting your job and want people to remember you fondly? Well, make sure you are extra nice to your colleagues during your last few weeks.
In short, to create better memories, you should optimize for the peak and the end. So
Dude, it's why we used to get all these cool winter activities before the winter break at school, because they wanted you to think about and want to go back to school.
best way to close out a YouTube video
Yeah, again, manipulating
is, I
the
guess,
child.
with a wholesome message.
Again.
And why
To
not?
scam them and
Footage
make
of
money
a
of
cute
them.
dog playing with flowers.
Again. Every fucking time. They manipulate a child
Our
to
mindset
make money of
plays
them.
a huge
Chat, it's why if you're a teacher, you should give the homework of the day during the fucking lecture, not at the end. Now that I think about it, chat, I think of fun classes I had, and I think at the end, if he gave me a bunch of homework, I was like, this is dog shit. Fuck that loser.
That's why all the good classes gave the homework during the lesson and let you work on it during the lesson. Because nobody wants to do shit at home. And it feels like it never fucking ends, man.
Fun the entire time. The bitterness of hearing, oh yeah, by the way, you guys need to do this and this and this and that and that. And I was like, man, this is lame as fuck. And I feel like I had a bad day or a bad period.
The reality is, lectures don't work that well, especially on children. Just give them the homework when you get to the lesson. Let them do the homework. And then when they don't understand, let them ask a question, and then you lecture them. Right? You look at what they're working on, and then you lecture based on how you see them working. So then you also don't waste time saying useless things, and you make the lesson better. Alright? That's how you do it.